Hello everyone, welcome to another video. It's been a little over a week since we last made a video, but in the meantime, thank you for all the likes, shares, subscriptions, and encouraging comments. These really have been helping us keep on going. We have a number of interesting new projects in the pipeline, which will be coming out in the next weeks and months. But in the meantime, today we're covering another practice match between 4th Dan professional Mr. H and amateur player Mr. S. So Mr. S, who's playing white in this game, he is a well-known amateur player who has won at least one national amateur title, so the amateur Meijin. He used to also play as a 3rd Dan semi-professional in the Shorekai, so it will be a very interesting match to see. So before we go into the match, I should also mention that today is the penultimate day for the current 3rd Dan League, and it looks like Tomoka Nishiyama has won both of her games today and is ranked currently at 3rd place. So as some of you probably, or actually most of you probably already know, the top 2 players in the 3rd Dan League becomes a full professional by being promoted to 4th Dan. So if Tomoka Nishiyama wins her last 2 games, and if one of the top 2 players lose consecutive games, or in some cases maybe even one game, then that will allow Tomoka Nishiyama to become a 4th Dan professional. If that happens, that is a historical event for the Shogi world. And my personal view on this is that regardless of how Tomoka Nishiyama performs on March 7th, the Japan Shogi Association really will benefit from having a deeper conversation about how men and women are perceived and treated differently, not only in the professional world, but also in the amateur world. However, my belief is also that the way men and women are talked about and treated and portrayed differently in the professional world tends to spill over to the amateur world. So this is a huge opportunity for JSA to take leadership and really start that conversation and hopefully make progressive changes regardless of how Tomoka Nishiyama performs. However, I'm not here to talk about gender politics in Shogi. So let's get into the game. So this is a 3rd file Swinging Rook game, and it opens with black playing pawn to 7-6. White responds with pawn to 3-4, pawn to 2-6, pawn to 4-4, silver to 4-8, rook to 3-2, pawn to 2-5, bishop to 3-3, king to 6-8, king to 6-2, king to 7-8, silver to 4-2, pawn to 3-6, silver to 7-2, and pawn to 4-6. So black is in a static rook formation, but black also might play a right side 4th file rook. But in this game, black doesn't opt for that opening, just plays an ordinary static rook. So gold to 5-2, knight to 3-7, rook to 2-2. Very important defending the 4th file actually, because after the bishop exchange, the 2nd file could become vulnerable in future. So black continues with silver to 4-7 and white castles with king to 7-1. Silver to 5-6, silver to 4-3, and an edge pawn push. And another edge pawn push, black responds, and king to 8-2, so white completes the Mino castle. Gold to 5-8, silver to 5-4, pawn to 8-6. So black here is announcing that it's going to castle into a left side Mino castle, very interesting opening. So pawn to 6-4, king to 8-7, pawn to 7-4, and silver to 7-8, completing the Mino castle, and pawn to 8-4. This is quite a, it looks like a natural move, but it's actually quite important in that pawn to 8-4 will allow white to attack the top of black's king with pawn to 8-5 anytime white wishes. that is actually quite an important way to retaliate, especially when the game progresses in black's favor. So black attacks at this point with silver to 5-5, and this is quite an opportune moment for black in that white has no choice but to capture back. So if white decides to retreat, then if silver goes to 6-3, then of course silver advances to 4-4. And if silver goes to 4-3, then of course silver advances in the opposite direction. So either way, black wins a pawn. So white really has no choice. So white captures back. And black captures back with the bishop. Gold to 6-3, defending the 6-4 pawn, and black continues attacking with pawn to 4-5. And then white responds with rook to 4-2. So this is a classic move by a swinging rook opening. So if your opponent starts attacking a file, then as a rule you want the swinging rook to basically swing back to that file that's being attacked. So black continues attacking with pawn to 2-4. Another option would have been pawn to 3-5 first. However, after captures back and silver drop, white would just ignore the silver drop and continue pushing with pawn to 3-6. And after silver captures the bishop and knight captures back, although black momentarily has an advantage, actually the knight on 3-7 is going to be captured back, and it looks like white's knight on 3-3 will have a chance to jump to 4-5 as well. So this will be a good game for white, and black would prefer to avoid this kind of progression. So instead of that, black pushes pawn to 2-4, pawn captures back, and then pawn push to 3-5. So the difference here is that if it progresses in the same way, then rook can capture the pawn on 2-4 directly after the bishop is out of the way. So in this case, white can't really capture back the 3-5 pawn. So instead, white captures back the 4-5 pawn. And black captures the bishop, knight captures back, and pawn captures on 3-4. This looked like a natural move, but actually black would have done better if a bishop was dropped on 7-7 instead, which is kind of a counterintuitive move in that you're attacking the third file with the pawn anyway, so why invest more resources there? But actually, after pawn to 4-6 and bishop captures on 3-3, a pawn promotes on 4-7, horse captures on 4-2, and then white captures the gold, and let's say gold captures back. Then there's the bishop drop on 5-5, so actually you want to capture that back with a rook. Sorry about that. I mean, this is still a very interesting game. You can't really tell which side is winning, but after a few moves here, yeah, we really don't know which side is winning, but black is attacking white's middle castle with a horse and a rook, while on the white side, I mean, white also has a horse, but the pieces aren't quite attacking black's king, so this would have been a kind of an even match. But what happens in the actual game is after pawn captures on 3-4, white gets to wield the knight to 2-5, taking advantage of the fact that black sacrificed the second file pawn earlier. So this is a move that really, I mean, if you play Swinging Rook, then your biggest objective is to make sure your left knight is being wielded properly, and this is really like, this clears that challenge basically for white. So of course knight captures back, and then instead of capturing that knight, here white plays an amazing move. So please pause the video. This is kind of maybe beginner to intermediate level move, but let's see if you can see the next move. So if you see the next move, then congratulations, you are a very good player with a good foundation. So instead of capturing back that knight, the correct move is a bishop drop to 5-5. So if the rook gets out of the way, then instead of again capturing back the knight, the bishop can capture the lance on 9-9, which is directly threatening black's king. So that'll be a completely winning game for white. So at this point, black doesn't try to save the rook, and instead also drops a bishop on 3-3. There was also the option of promoting the knight on 3-3, but then white would get the rook out of the way, and the situation is similar for black. So after a rook to 2-4 and bishop captures on 9-9 and a silver drop on 9-8, king to 7-7, and then horse captures on 8-9, silver captures back, silver to 8-7, and then knight to 6-5 check, king to 6-8, and the gold comes up to 8-8, and then after silver coming back to 7-8. I mean, it's still quite a difficult game, but you can see that black's king is just being attacked from both sides, while white is pretty comfortable with its defense. So yeah, instead of this, black decided to retaliate with a bishop drop. So of course, this time you have to respond to this bishop drop. So again, if you capture this with the bishop, then you're just letting the knight get away for free. So you capture the rook instead. So white captures the rook onto 8. Black also captures the rook, and then white captures back the knight. So nobody's losing any material advantage here, but the big difference is that white managed to basically get rid of all the pieces on the left, and the Mino castle is intact. Black has the first move here, but here black dropped the rook on 4-1. And at this point, black may have felt that because it has the first move towards the endgame, it has a slight advantage over white, but actually white's horse on 2-8 is slightly better than black's horse on 4-2. So the correct move here would have been something like pawn to 5-6, not allowing white's horse to be wielded so easily, and maybe after pawn to 4-6, a rook drop, and pawn promotes on 4-7, gold captures and a rook drop, maybe a horse to 2-4, defending the gold on 4-7 and also wielding the horse, and horse to 1-9, and then horse comes back to 5-7, something like this. So keep the game kind of low key, make sure all the pieces are doing a good job at defending or attacking, and this would have given black more outs in the long run compared to the actual variation. So here black plays rook to 4-1, which looks like a natural move, but then the next move by white was really quite devastating for black. So again, pause the video and see if you can make the correct move here. So the correct move here is white moves the horse to 5-5. So instead of capturing the lance, it's much more valuable for white to wield the horse on the 5-5 square. So that is not only defending the lance on 1-1 while also attacking the lance on 9-9, but as you will see in a few moves, it's actually attacking black's king indirectly. So black defends with silver drop to 7-7, and then white drops the rook on 3-9. And then, of course, black wants to exchange horses. The horse on 5-5 is clearly doing a better job, but white refuses with horse to 5-4. And black captures the lance on 1-1 now, but then a check on the 7-5 square with a knight, and from here it's basically a completely winning game for white. So I will show you how the game progressed, but let's say black defended here instead with the king to 8-8, then of course white will drop a silver on 3-2. And this was actually a move that black did not take into account. This is why the horse to 5-4 move was so devastating for black. So yeah, I mean, just to continue that variation, I mean, after the silver drop, maybe black can capture the lance on 1-1, and then white gets rid of that horse there, black captures back, and then white captures back. And from here, I mean, after you get rid of that horse, you just need to block that dragon on 1-1 with, let's say, a pawn drop on 3-1. This is a completely winning game for white in the sense that black is clearly out of materials to launch a meaningful endgame, while white has plenty of options open with a horse and a dragon. Also, lance is hanging there on the 1-9 square. So black really couldn't afford to go down this path. So what happened instead was basically capturing the lance on 1-1. However, check on 7-5, king goes to 8-8, and then another check on 8-7. If black captures this, then of course the gold on 6-9 is hanging, so king goes to 7-9, and then white captures on 7-8, king captures back, and then a knight promotion on 8-7. Same idea, if the king captures back, then the gold on 6-9 is hanging. So king goes to 6-8, but you can see that this is really, I mean, if you have to play black here, then you probably want to, just give up. But yeah, black is playing just to see how the game ends. So I guess this is the last move that is quite interesting in terms of how you end a winning game. So if you play Swinging Rook, then the next move actually will be very interesting for you. So again, please pause the video and see how you would strategize from white's position here, how to end the game. So if you see the end game from here, then congratulations, you are an advanced player. So the correct move here is pawn to 4-6. This is a simple but very powerful move in that it opens up the diagonal of the horse and also threatens to make one of the gold generals useless in terms of defense. So black counters with a pawn drop on 4-8, but horse goes to 3-6, so that diagonal is crucial. Black drops a silver on 5-9. So just to make sure, this is actually a threat mate, so black needs to defend, so black defends. But again, a silver drop on 4-9, that's another threat mate. So black defends. Again, lands on 7-9. And then white drops a pawn on 3-7. And as you can see, black only has a knight and no real path forward in terms of endgame, while white just needs to promote that pawn and gradually gain more material advantage. So from here, I'll just show you the moves. Black moves the horse to 4-3. White doesn't even defend, just promotes the pawn. Partly because if you give white a bishop, then actually that would lead to a checkmate. So yeah, black actually defends with pawn to 7-5, but white captures on 5-8. Gold captures back, and then the pawn sidles to 4-8. The horse captures on 8-7, but the pawn is exchanged with a silver. King goes to 7-8, but the pawn continues to sidle, and this is pretty much like a cat and mouse game. And the king goes up to 9-7, but again, continues the pursuit. And yeah, from here, it's just a simple endgame. And check here, horse captures, pawn captures, king captures, and a lance on 9-7, king captures back, and knight drop. So at this point, black resigned, but just to show you how the checkmate works, if king goes to 8-6, then a simple bishop drop, and a dragon comes around to 8-9, and then after defending, you check here, and basically from here it's just very mechanical. Yeah, so that was the game. So I guess what's interesting in this game is the kind of the middle point of the whole game was quite interesting in that around this point where the bishop exchange happened, and instead of pawn to 3-4, which looks like a perfectly natural move, something like a bishop drop on 7-7 was superior. So if you play static rook against a swinging rook, then it's nice to remember that whoever controls that diagonal actually has a much better chance of taking advantage. And if you play the swinging rook side, then make sure to exploit advantages like this, where you can wield the left side knight, and also a few moves later, eventually basically take the 5-5 square with a horse. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like, share, and subscribe. And then I'll see you until next time.